This one has started. Hi, this is Lori.
This is Peter.
And this is Hamilton.
Peter, you're still leaning out to the side. There you go. I don't know what I got to do to get you to get on screen. There
we
I gotta sit way in the back of the room. I don't know. We're with Heroes, Character Rental Service, Action Hero LA, and we're here with another movie review. This one comes on the heels of watching Shadows. So this, I'm going to call this part 2 of Shadows.
Yeah,
sure.
And a film I ran across on YouTube one night.
Yep.
I passed for white.
Exactly.
So,
yes. Exactly.
Anybody want to start?
It's a film about another passing complexion female who, at the beginning of the film, they introduce her as as a black person, but she obviously appears to be white. And she decides at some point she wants to, she meets a
white guy that she falls in love with.
Yeah. And
gets married to, but she doesn't reveal her race to him and his family. So she's having to hide all this stuff.
Right.
Like, oh, I want to meet your family. Oh, they're not. They're traveling right now. She has to make all these excuses to avoid being revealed. So, yeah, this is.
Well, for me, the movie, how the movie started out, it went a lot deeper than that. Well, first off, that usually people from the Louisiana or blacks from the Louisiana, Mississippi, Georgia area. There was a thing called passing or passe blanc, which was pretty much French for passing as white. And because how blacks were treated, a lot of the lighter skinned blacks, because as we would find out later, or as the movie revealed a little bit later, is that no matter what your parents look like, you could come out any shade.
Oh, that's right. There is that.
Yeah. So there was concern for those who were passing as white, and although we've now seen movies where women have passed for white,
there's a lot of those from this era.
Right.
There's
but men did it as well.
Yeah, they did.
And for the most part, although they were either half black, half white, or I would say 3/4 white, because they had a white mother, white father, and then
black grandparent or something.
Yeah,
like that.
and then a black grandparent, and then something like that. A lot of them were as our family, Creole.
Right.
Yeah.
We didn't. We
have cousins that passed for white. Because my dad talks about he couldn't play. They would have to visit his cousin Albert at night because they were passing for white, and my dad's blonde hair and blue eye, which is ridiculous.
Yeah.
Right.
But they knew they weren't. In New Orleans, they knew who was by the school, the neighborhood you lived in, which is where my dad lived. So, you had to move away from that and hide and not see your cousins, not see your relatives if you wanted to pass for white. And
right.
I mean, you used to get upset about that, but I think hearing about Anatole Broyard, who famously passed for white, he was a writer. He was a very talented writer.
Right.
And I can understand it from he couldn't get the opportunities to write the way he wanted to.
Right.
If people knew he was a black man, so he
was a literary critic for the New York Times. He would have never gotten that job.
He would never gotten that job if they knew he was a black man. And it's like there's a lot of stifled brilliance and talent that I kind of like. I'm gonna have to give him a break on that. But anyway,
I think we should one day sit down and do 2 or 3 talks about that. But right now, let's
I want
stick.
to do a whole documentary on it.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. No, it's definitely a subject that I'm interested in. I mean, that's part of why I picked it.
Let's try to stick with this movie.
I think what you're saying is true, though, Peter. I mean, this whole issue is very complicated, and this film tries to touch on the nuances of what makes this whole thing complicated. Because this character, she starts out, she's not at odds with being black. They show her with her brother in a setting where everyone knows she's black, and she's not trying to pass for anything else but black. Actually, a white character approaches her with the idea that she's white, and they have to correct him. And so she's clearly like not at odds with her blackness, but it's because of the situation of meeting this man on the plane
After talking with her mother.
I'm sorry.
I forgot that part.
Yeah,
I saw this weeks ago.
I saw it a few weeks
as a
ago as
fluke
well.
because we found it on YouTube, and I just laughed my ass off.
Right.
Anyway.
But I think what the real conflict in this movie is she's trying to keep up this like facade, because they have almost like this perfect relationship, it seems. When she meets this guy, they fall in love. Next thing you know, he wants to marry her, and she loves him too.
Yeah.
And there's a certain amount of facade in there, and they don't really play with it too much, but the facade is that people's perceptions, oh, you're like me, you're white, and we could get married and have an idyllic life together or something.
Well, there's two things in there on how I loved how this director put this together. One, like you said, she had no qualms. She was just light skinned, she was black.
Yeah.
And that's where she was in life, and it had her only wondering when she talked with her mother is that, well, why do people treat me one way when they perceive what they think I am, and they treat me another way? I'm still the same person. So she had question on why people would treat her differently. She was also an educated person. So she couldn't figure out, if I'm educated enough to get this certain job, why can't I get it when they find out otherwise?
That's what I was just thinking. She got hired for that job too. And stuff.
Because, remember her first job, the lady said, "You're incredible."
Right.
But you put this down.
Right.
Oh, and
we have
and
policy.
Now I can't hire you. Oh, I can hire you to. How would you like to be the elevator girl? And she said, "No, thank you."
Right. Exactly.
But
that's the more complicated aspect of passing, is that a lot of times people had to choose to pass because they just got tired of explaining to people that they were black, and it just worked against them in every situation. And that's where I find this whole thing really fascinating, is that a lot of, as black people, we have a perception that people who pass are betraying their race, but it's deeper than that a lot of the time.
I used to think that too. But now I kind of I kind of get it.
I mean, there is a certain level of betrayal, but it's not what people think. It's almost like you have to turn your back on a part of your own identity, and that's hard.
Actually, on family.
Yeah. And that's very difficult. And this film kind of touches on that to some extent.
Yes, because in the beginning, you're on the fence on whether you like this girl, and then when she does cross over, you kind of like you're almost snickering, because you're like, ha ha ha, they don't know.
I was laughing the whole time. See, when I watched this, I wasn't watching it with a critical eye. It was just like a fluke. I found it. I was like, oh, I'm gonna have fun with this.
Right.
And pretty much what tipped her off. Oh, she's such a great dancer.
Right. Yeah. I was looking for those kinds of scenes that would be outrageous.
She's hanging out with jazz musicians.
Right. Yeah. I was the same, Laurie. I was watching it, and I was hoping I would find some hysterical scene that just didn't age really well, and I would show it to other people.
It's a melodrama, but it's,
but
just the situation, just like like when she went to her husband's family's home, and when they had a maid, and the maid knew exactly what she was.
Right.
And it's and that's something I bring up all the time when I have white people that know me, and they have a hard time believing I'm black. I'm like, it's like every black person knows I'm black. At least every black woman know it right away.
Right.
Yeah.
Most of the men, it's just like white people don't get it.
Right.
So I was just So things like that were cracking me up, because I wasn't looking at this with a critical eye as much.
Well, the thing was, the director seemed to be just right there until he got to they got rhythm.
Right.
When she was
like dancing with her hand.
Yeah, it's like, come on.
That was hilarious.
Okay. All right. That's the way you tell. Like,
well, it was the way he reacted. Goodness. Like he was like, "What is it about you and these Negroes?" And he couldn't figure it out. That was hilarious.
So great.
And wow, you're such a good dancer.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
it's like, oh Lord.
I thought that was hilarious.
So that's kind of like you guys are picking out some deep stuff. It's like, wow, I was just laughing.
Right. Yeah. I wasn't expecting it to be too deep.
But the thing was, as the movie went along, I was really feeling for her.
Oh yeah,
because of all the things. Because the what's his name? James Franciscus. He's playing the son of these white aristocrats.
Right.
And so that just pretty much means, well, the mother is nosy.
Mm-hmm.
Who's your family? Mm-hmm. Although we've heard that now in our
we do that.
Who's their family? Because
we probably know somebody or related to them.
We want to know who they are, and we want to make sure they're not a cousin.
Yeah, that's true.
But anyway.
I just ran into someone at the DMV, and that's
it's like okay, who's your family?
Who's your family? Okay.
Yeah, it's kind of like because
she looked like one of our cousins. Anyway.
Yeah, but anyway, there all the things she had to lie about. Mm-hmm. In order to keep it from the mother,
right? Yeah.
Because the mother-in-law, because she hadn't told her husband, "Look, this is what I am."
Right.
Because, I kept saying to myself, "Tell him, he'll know, he'll understand, and he'll help out with the mother."
Right.
But then when he started reacting.
Mm-hmm.
You kind of wanted her to tell him at some
point.
I
did want to just to be honest,
and
stop this facade and having to lie so much. And
but you know she can't.
But I knew it was over as soon as she did.
She can't for all the right reasons.
But then the dude was gonna react that way. You don't want to be with him,
right?
Come on.
Yeah, but it's kind of like, can I ease it to him? Well, that. Especially back then, there was no easing. Mm-hmm. There was no easing. I mean, I think I'm not sure, but I think when within our own family, when people started coming around, it's like, where do you know them from? It's kind of like
I have a band story that's kind of hilarious.
I think one reason I'm really fascinated with passing complexion in general is because I hear people all the time say, "Oh, white privilege doesn't exist. That's not real." And I'm always thinking like, well, if it doesn't exist, then why historically have black people passed for white for so long? In this country, if there's no privilege. No extra privilege in being white, I mean, and then I hear stories about things white people said to me when they thought I was white. I've seen that on message boards and stuff. And
I've got stories.
Yeah, and every passing complexion black person has stories, and so if white privilege doesn't exist, I don't know,
Oh yeah.
We have spies.
Yeah.
They look like me.
Right. I mean,
gotcha.
it's something I think it's the perfect.
Now.
I think it's the perfect way to analyze race in America. Really, if you have characters that can go back and forth. And yet I've only seen it done a handful of times in movies. I mean, so I've always thought it was interesting. And then like you mentioned, Laurie, Anatoly Broyard in particular, I'm interested in his story because I realize there's the potential to really like tap into something there that I haven't seen anyone really.
I don't think anybody's kind of tapped into like this on a level. This is one level that it's done. And Shadows, which is watching Shadows, kind of like I saw this movie. Actually, I saw a bit of Shadows before years ago, a little bit of it, and from your recommendation, but forgot. And then coming across this movie, and then when you suggested Shadows, we watch. I'm like, oh, have you watched this one?
Right.
So, I think you were going to bring up something about Shadows about the character Benny.
Yeah, I was going to say, because she's actually, you can see her on the screen.
Yeah.
I thought it was interesting that they had a white character in this film. That's not unusual. Like, a lot of the Hollywood race movies had white characters playing black.
Oh, they have white actresses playing these black, very often in these movies. There's another famous one, I think, with Lana Turner in it, that's like the most famous.
Right, but one thing that was interesting to me about Shadows in particular is the male character Benny was he was a black character, but the female was a white character.
I think she was Italian. The actress was Italian.
And yet, as a black person, I really couldn't tell watching the film if she was black or not, because there was certain things about her features that just didn't come off to me as fully white.
Right.
And yet she's actually white. So I just thought it was interesting. Like I mentioned, I wanted to mention it during the review for Shadows, but the thing was, I thought they did a really good job with that. And then I think also they did a really good job with this character, because this character, she looks white, but she could be black. She's like, she could be. She could be black. I'll say it like that. I don't know.
She
definitely looks white to me.
Yeah.
She
also has a Latin look to me as well.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's kind of like ethnically ambiguous, kind of like.
Yeah, exactly. So, but we like to think we know other blacks when we see them.
Yeah.
And I thought that was just interesting specifically about Shadows, that I couldn't really tell if she was white.
No, it was like she could, this movie, I wanted to bring up something in this movie that happens is kind of like the turning point, the high drama point, and this is a melodrama, straight up like soap opera type of feel and acting. Is she discovers she's pregnant, and the question is like, oh shit, what's the baby gonna look like? So, and
it's gonna be light skin, dark skin.
It's gonna be dark skin, and actually, the kind
that's
of
a real issue
that kind of resolves the movie is the husband thinks she's fooling around with all these jazz musicians she hangs out, and had an affair.
Exactly.
Rather than she didn't want to reveal. No, our baby's dark. I think she did have the baby. That's right. Our baby was the baby dark? I forgot.
No. Well,
okay.
Not to give it all away.
Not to give it all away, but there's this issue, and there was a way that she was going to fix it, but other things happened within the movie. Which I did not think that I don't think, to me, they didn't take an easy way out.
Well, that's what I wanted to talk about.
To me, I thought that was actually a hard way. It was still an out.
The reason,
but it was a hard way out.
The reason I took
not
the
an easy way
as
out.
A cop out, because that's the word I used. I just felt like they wanted to give everyone the happy ending, and I just felt like her going home at the end and returning to her family and to her blackness. But it's kind of like
but what? We don't know that because it didn't say that.
It does give it that kind of Hollywood happy ending film. But something, and this is what I love about my peoples, is like they'll welcome you home with open arms
Right.
in a way that,
Other people might not.
white
You're right.
people
That's a good point.
traditionally would not.
I didn't find the ending
in fact,
hard to
the
believe.
whole thing why she's having to come home is because that was an issue.
You know what, you guys? I don't know what I expected out of the ending. I didn't find it hard to believe. Like you said, I found it like, yeah, she totally could go back home. But I just felt like I said, they just wanted to. It was such a difficult situation that had been created. They just wanted to wrap it up in a way that seemed kind of like sanitary or whatever. You know what I'm saying?
I mean, you have to look at the movie what the movie is. It's very much a melodrama,
right?
And very much in the tradition of a Hollywood melodrama of that era. You want to tie things up nice and neatly for your characters.
That's what I mean.
Yeah,
it felt like a product of that time. Like, like they weren't gonna like do anything that was gonna make it too controversial at the end. You know?
Right.
Well, you know what? Now that's what's weird. You guys have both said that it gave it a nice bow and it kind of just let everybody just go. To me, it was a very tragic ending.
No, it was. Definitely.
To whereas the one person knew what the whole thing was about, but had lost everything.
Yeah,
definitely.
And then the other people,
home,
the other people around her also lost because, for the most part, they never got the truth. It seems like the only person who could kind of walk with their head high is the coworker.
Oh,
because she knew what was real, and she wanted to help. She had even warned the girl, "Here's going to be some problems that you're going to have," because to me, even the maid, she was more or less like, "Ha ha, caught in your own web." Although she was trying to help at some point, but it was still like, you got caught.
that's what you get.
Yeah, the husband, he never really got an answer. So in his mind, this and this happened.
Well, he thought she was having an affair.
Yeah.
He placed it. That's what it's like. No, just tell him you black. What's the problem?
Yeah. Well. The thing is, and then try not to reveal too much. It was just for everybody. It was tragic.
Right. Definitely. I think it was a tragic ending. I guess I just would have rather that they kind of left it like after the bad news came out that whatever, that it just ended instead of her going home. I don't know. I just feel like her going home.
We got to tie a nice little bow on.
Yeah.
But you see, although she kind of mentioned it, maybe she didn't.
I think she did go home because they showed her go back to her mom's house and her mom came and hugged her, and that was it. And then it was like, like wrapped it up. Like
I want to get back to this band. No, I'm kind of like crack up because there's a family member of mine who married a white person, and there was no, his family knew, and his grandmother came and like before this was when they were engaged. It was like your first two kids might come out white, but that third one is gonna be brown. and
it was like, always that third.
What the fuck, Grandma?
They were already like
they've been married forever,
about that in their head.
but they only have 2 kids. But
they didn't go for number 3.
So they didn't go for number 3. But,
yeah.
So
well,
we'll never know.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, that's because that one would have came out darkened with the tail.
Exactly. and fur all over his body.
Told that story, but it's hilarious. That's why I don't know. Another reason why this movie cracked me up in a way, and it's you guys are taking it a lot more seriously than
No, I really did want to talk about that ending though, because
yeah.
I knew you liked the ending, and I'd already said that I thought it was a cop out, but I wanted to talk about that because we obviously had different views on it.
Yeah, but like I said, you felt kind of like it was a cop out because. Okay, let's add some flowers to it.
Mm-hmm. To be honest, I don't know how I would have ended that movie. It was like you said, it was a tragedy as it was.
Yeah, I just thought it was tragic all the way around.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but that was the one part I was like, excuse me?
I'll say this much for this film. The thing I liked the most, it didn't feel like some kind of reefer madness, overly sensationalized hysteria type movie about the dangers of passing for black. Or passing for white, excuse me. It was like they tried to show why you shouldn't pass for white, But it was good melodrama, like you said.
Yeah, it's very much a melodrama.
It was entertaining,
Yeah, it's kind of a fun watch. Mm-hmm. Just a couple things for me to wrap it up. The probably most famous passing for white movie of that era is Imitation of Life with Lana Turner. I had a friend who was constantly trying to get me to watch it. I still haven't seen it to this day. Sorry, Vicky, I gotta watch that.
It's okay. It's kind of mediocre.
But it's like probably another melodrama kind of
There's
thing.
actually two versions. I've only ever seen the Douglas Sirk version.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I think I did run across that there might have been more than one version.
Yeah.
And what was my other thought I had about? Coming back to the ending, just like I said, I thought it was interesting, and there was actually a documentary I saw about this girl. She's biracial, but she didn't know it because her mom was having an affair with a black guy, and then got pregnant and went back home to her husband and to her community in upstate New York or someone, and raised her daughter as white, although she was kind of like tan and had hair like mine and stuff. So. But, once she found out she was black and how the community, the white people she grew up around were started distancing from her and stuff. And she decided when she went to college and went to the black, I don't know if she went to a black college or she just got involved with the Black Student Union of Black Students. They were like, yeah, of course you're one of us,
Right.
Instant acceptance. And I thought it was really interesting. I never thought of it in those terms.
Right.
So to see her go home to her family and accept her, it's like, that's such a black community thing.
No, you're right about that.
And it's such a white community quality to this rejection. I mean, that's the whole racism issue anyway.
That's true. You can always go home.
You can always
if you're
go.
Black.
Yeah.
That's true. And even with Anatoly Broyard, I know at the end, on his deathbed is when he told his daughter the truth, and so that's when she decided to do all the research and wrote a book. But it's true. It's almost like he went home in the end because he had to face the truth of who he really was to his daughter.
And along those lines, our Aunt Angie, she had some cousins a couple years ago that reached out to her. They had their parent or grandparent had passed for white and didn't tell them. They weren't, and so we want to get to know our cousin. They reconnected with one of our aunts and stuff to get to know their family, but it's because they had no idea. They were just told assumed they were white because they had a relative that passed and didn't cut himself off from the rest of the family.
Right.
So it was interesting. So this was an interesting movie. Oh, one final thing I have to bring up. The composer of the music of this movie is Johnny Williams.
Wow.
Little Johnny Williams.
Who would have guessed?
One of his first movies. And if the name sounds familiar, it is John Williams of the John Williams, the most famous composer of film music that anybody probably knows.
Right.
Of the Star Wars themes, E.T., all of the movies, Harry Potter, what else? How many famous music sources? So
and if you hadn't pointed that out, Laurie, I wouldn't have known.
I had no idea. I didn't even see the name on the credit till I looked for later. I was researching more information about this movie. It's like, oh my God, the John Williams did the music for this film.
I do have a question. Can he dance?
I don't know. I think he's got rhythm because he can compose.
He's musical.
Oh, anybody can compose.
All right.
I just wanted to say I'm not going to try to give this some kind of like number.
Yeah,
but it's worth seeing.
It's worth seeing to check it out.
Yeah,
it's on YouTube too right now for free. You can
exactly.
search it out, Google it, YouTube it,
Exactly.
and let us know what you think.
Yeah, and what is the name they're gonna Google?
I Passed for White.
I Passed for White.
I told my friend I have to get that movie poster to hang in my room.
Oh yeah.
I told you I want to see the sequel. I Passed for Black.
I wonder what cousins we got out there.
Oh no, they got.
That's
they got one.
That's Rachel Dolezal movie.
No, what's that movie?
The Jerk.
No. Not because
Watermelon Man. No, he wasn't. No, he was.
No. The one that they made where the guy took injections to look black.
Oh, Soul Man.
No, not Soul Man.
I just forgot about Soul Man.
Yeah, I love Soul Man.
Tropic Thunder.
No.
Took injections.
What are you talking about?
Oh, I know what you're talking about. Black Like Me.
Black Like Me.
Black Like Me.
Yeah,
Oh my
yeah.
God.
Which is based on a true story. Apparently.
Yes.
Yes. Yeah.
Was it a journalist who did that? Or
yes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. He won that
Very,
Oscar.
very good movie.
I haven't seen that movie yet. I want to see it.
I haven't either.
It's a very, very good movie.
So anyway, well,
I'm
we
glad you
out.
mentioned that, actually.
We are out.
And if any of our cousins who think they're white want to contact us, leave some messages in the comments.
I'm okay with that.
Bye, y'all.
Bye.
All right.